I'm going to skip right ahead and introduce our guest speaker. François Gagnon holds an honors bachelor's physical education from the University of Ottawa's School of Human Kinetics. François has over 20 years experience working with pain, chronic pain, and injury management as a rehabilitation therapist. He is a certified lymphatics therapist, certified medical specialist, certified health trainer, and kinesiotape practitioner. François is Chief Medical Exercise Specialist at the Other Pain Clinic, which offers individualized programs to help reduce pain flare-ups, have better mobility and energy. The program may include a combination of modalities like manual therapy, exercise therapy, kinesiotaping, health and lifestyle coaching, and supportive whole food nutrition. Enhancing his injury and chronic disease management practice with research, François' objective is to find drug-free solutions for reducing physical and mental pain levels to improve patients' quality of life. His integrative blend of complementary manual therapy and lymphatic and championage, you can tell us how that's properly pronounced, and conventional exercise therapy care practices has increased overall health and wellness for those he works with. Thank you. Welcome, François.
Thank you for the intro, Linda. It's great. And just for everybody here, thank you for sharing your day or part of your day. I'm grateful for your time to meet with each other. And just for what Linda asked me to clarify, champissage is a form of manual therapy, kind of like cranial, specifically to the head and upper back, developed by a physiotherapist out of the UK. And I've been trained in that as well. So that's what that is. So today, I want to share 10 simple things that we could do to help out with energy, reduce some neuro kind of pain flare-ups. And you may have, or you may be doing some of these already. And a big part of it is when we start something new, my viewpoint is, anyways, it doesn't have to be complicated, overwhelming, just to get something going. Definitely, we all have our own health concerns to manage. And I just wanted to share with what I've learned from both my personal journey, from my education and experience, and the mentors in the field of health, rehab, wellness, and nutrition related to chronic as well. So in this short little, hopefully education and entertaining time together, I just want to share a few important key tips to help you on your way to implement these 10 simple things. And they don't have to be 10 all at once. They could be 1 or 2 at a time. All right. So I do have, kind of like Linda mentioned, there is a disclaimer as well. The information provided is not a substitute for medical care or advice. It's provided for educational purposes only and not intended to diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease. Always consult your doctor or other allied health professional about making lifestyle changes that are right for you. So hopefully everybody's okay with that. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So today, what I kind of want to cover in our meeting before I get to 10 simple things, it's a little bit of a review about neurology to some degree, and what happens before neurology, and some concepts in neuropathic as well. All right, so sorry about the little, science stuff as we go, but definitely one of the key things in the neuropath as well. Yeah, we want to walk, we do our everyday things, but then a key thing with our neuropathy or neuro changes is that one of the key things that we all go through is aging. That's part of life. So with aging, for example, in peripheral neuropathy, and especially let's say the feet, we peak for sensory stuff at age 40. And then at age 70, we kind of need the double stimulation to see what's really going on in terms of the feet senses as we move about in our day. So hopefully, I just want to clear that out. Aging is, we all go through it. So there's going to be some changes in our nervous system as we go along through aging. And if at any point in time as we go through, if you have some questions, please throw them into the chat and we'll go from there. All right. So a couple things in neuropathy. I'm just kind of want to do a review, a mindful refresher about what's kind of going on. So hopefully in terms of neuropathy, we could kind of agree that it's damage or dysfunction of one or more nerves that typically result in numbness, tingling, muscle weakness, maybe pain in the affected area. And it frequently starts in the hands and feet, but other parts of the body can be affected as well. Hopefully that makes sense. All good? Peripheral neuropathy is more about the damage in the peripheral nerves in the hands and feet, which are the more common areas, and also associated with weakness, numbness, and or pain. So hopefully that kind of makes sense as well as we just do a quick little review of neuropathy. In case we don't know about it, but we do have some stuff with nerve disruption and how the nerve signal is disrupted in neuropathy as well. So sometimes we get loss of signals that are normally sent. The analogy would be like broken wire. We have inappropriate signaling where there shouldn't be any. So think about like static on the telephone line. And then there could be like errors that distort the message being sent. So my analogy is something like a wavy television picture. Hopefully we could kind of relate to those analogies in terms of the nerve disruption. Hopefully we're all still okay. And then the next part, in terms of types of peripheral neuropathy, I just kind of want to review some stuff that I've hung out with a couple key podiatrists in the States. One of the ways that we can get into peripheral neuropathy is actually through physical injury, like a trauma. There could be other health conditions, and the big one is the diabetes, because about near 60% of people who are diabetic may experience the peripheral neuropathy. There's also conditions like autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis or chronic inflammatory, even stuff like lupus as an example that can kind of contribute towards neuropathy or peripheral neuropathy. There could be also nutrition or vitamin imbalances. So for example, maybe there's a vitamin B12 deficiency. This comes from one of the registered dietitians I've been able to take some of her courses. And a big one that I've also learned more about as also a certified cancer exercise specialist is chemotherapy drugs. They have close to a 30% impact on peripheral neuropathies. This is anything from the prostate, breast, lung cancers. There's also peripheral neuropathy in terms of what they call idiopathic. So that's where you might be seeing your physician to see what is happening. So there might be a lot of testing going on, but there's still not a definite cause association about why it's happening. And that's about the main general groupings of the types of peripheral neuropathy. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. And we're still the last part of, well, almost the last part I might have a bonus surprise in there. The nerves affected by neuropathy, usually we have the main three groupings. We have the motor nerves. Those control the movement of all the muscles under our conscious control. The muscles that we use for walking, grasping, even talking. Then we have the sensory nerves that transmit information such as the feeling of the light touch, temperature, or even like if we have a nick on our skin of the pain. So we have something like that. And then we have the autonomic nerves, which control the organs related to what we do that is not really under our conscious control, like breathing, digesting food, heartbeats, and gland functions. So the other part about neuropathy is, I'm going to say it's more than just numbers. So I've learned this through one of the podiatrists in the States, that there are positive symptoms and negative symptoms. So for example, positive symptoms that might be more acute might be something, it feels like it's burning, radiating, sharp, hot, cold, or there's more sensitivity to either socks or texture surfaces. The negative symptoms could be the numbness and the tingling. So those could be, hey, this is going on all the time, like the numbness or tingling, but hopefully we don't have that extra layer, like that burning that's thrown on top of it. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. So sometimes when we do activity, we might flare up, but we might want to know what is that positive symptom, because maybe that activity created that more of that sharpness or a little bit more of that sensitivity. So hopefully by looking at just more than numbers and also kind of what you're feeling in terms of either numbness, tingling, did it radiate or did it turn up in volume or turn down? And was there another layer added on? It's nice to know, especially if you're journaling things in terms of activity levels. All right. So my bonus that's not on the slide, so sorry about that, Linda. I just want to look at the feet as well. The feet are our only contact between our body and the ground. We're humans, we move around. So in our feet, there's also mechanoreceptors as well. So I want to talk about them because they'll make sense as we get into the 10 things that I'll share in a moment. One of those receptors is about texture. So anytime we were walking around, there's a sensor in our feet that looks at texture to send that information to our brain. There's also a receptor all about the skin and the stretching of the skin. Because sometimes as we're walking around, we might kind of display our toes and come down into contact with the ground and then go from there. And then the last two receptors are all about vibration. Because vibration is when we make contact with any surface that we're walking on, there's a vibration effect, and that sends signals to our mind as well. Hopefully that kind of is a nice little bonus to think about some of the biology in our body as well with the feet and the receptors. As I move on to the 10 things, I just want to also say there's also no quick fix to, we want a quick fix, but sometimes there's no quick fix to looking at our overall health and wellness as well. But it's just, what can we do so that we feel better with our energy for the long term while supporting our overall health as we go about? So here in these 10 things I'm going to share is about raising energy levels, reducing some fatigue, and looking at establishing some lifestyle habits, I'll say. So here we go. One of our first ones I want to talk about is actually sleep. And yeah, I bring up sleep because it could be a strange place to start, but in a day we have 24 hours. So if we think about the clock in 24 hours, I'm going to give you 8 hours, right? So I'll be generous, give you 8 hours of sleep. So hopefully everybody's into the 8 hours bracket. And I'm putting this on top of the list because when we're tired, we tend to make fewer healthy choices throughout the day or reach for the quick fix energy boost that we need. And sometimes, yeah, I'm guilty of this as well. It's the sugar-filled options and the processed snacks. And also sometimes, especially with technology now, we might want to keep up with what's happening in the world on a bigger scale. This could disrupt our lack or get into our disruption or lack of sleep because we have rhythms, and sleep is important in terms of energy balance, metabolism, and appetite. So that's why sleep is a big part of it. So my friendly challenge for the first of the 10 things to look at is, what are we doing to try to get more sleep? Or are you setting some goals about your sleep where, hey, if I want to get that 7 hours, when do I need to be in bed by? And do I have a evening or sleep routine going on to see if I could get my mind and my body to relax a little bit more if need be? All right, our second part of a simple thing that we can do is try to look at ways to reduce stress. Yeah, definitely. It's not an easy thing to do because most of us might be juggling maybe way too much, going through the day at warp speed as well, or trying to get more and more done in our day as well. This can potentially bump our stress levels up. And with our stress levels up, our hormone levels like cortisol and insulin are also elevated. And these could kind of have effects on the rest of our body as well. There could also be some physiological changes like impaired digestion, decreasing blood. What? Let's try that again. I meant to say gut flora or the healthy microbiome. It could reduce our metabolism rate and also change our cortisol levels in our body. So a lot of us think we could handle stress, and it's also, we need stress to move things along, but we don't need to be under constant stress that takes an effect on our overall health. So ways to reduce some stress levels could be breathing exercises. It could be a form of meditation. And meditation is more than yoga and also mantra chants. No disrespect for it, but one of my ways to actually de-stress is walking the dogs. Granted, they're on their own agenda, but sometimes by whatever we could do to de-stress our body in terms of a neuropathic aspect, that can kind of reduce all the signaling that's going on in our body as well. So that's why we want to look at how can we reduce some stress. So we might all have different ways to do that. Like I mentioned, breathing practices. It could be, I know a few of my clients do coloring. One does painting. Somebody actually does cooking as a way to do stress reduction. So that's awesome because sometimes for a few of us, cooking adds a little bit more stress. So there's so many different ways about reducing stress. All right. Our third point about things we could do to help our body out is trying to not skip meals. I'm saying this because sometimes when we skip meals, it may backfire on us because by mid-afternoon or evening, we're starving and then we'll once again grab for that quick fix. Sometimes that quick fix may lead towards more inflammation in the body, which drives up other signals as well, and then kind of goes that way. Yes, our body needs fuel in the form of food to function. So when it's not having it, that food, then we kind of maybe not go for the right food sources. And then it also stresses our body out a little bit more as well because we're not having that food source or that fuel source. So the goal here with meals is what are 3 meals a day or some snacks that we could have in a day? When we add a little bit more fuel into our day, we may notice that our energy is better throughout the course of the day. And it's easier to just kind of maintain mobility in the day, better thinking in the day as well. And then also for our body, because if we're doing anything rehab wise, we need the fuel to support that new change in our body as well. Hopefully that kind of makes sense with the meals. And with the meals, I know with some of my clients, I'm not hungry, but sometimes the challenge is, can we start with something small in the palm of the hand? Because the palm of the hand is basically your kind of rough guide about what a serving size is. So, for example, a full apple is 2 servings because a half apple is what basically fits in the palm of my hand. That's 1 serving. So just to kind of give a little bit of a picture on what a serving size is. All right. So no questions so far, and hopefully we're clearing out some stuff. So an interesting part about energy levels and kind of reducing inflammatory markers in our body is to trade out our beverage. I know a lot of my clients, especially one gentleman, his Pepsi was his main drink or beverage choice. So one gentleman that I worked with, Pepsi was his favorite choice, and I challenged him for energy, 1 Pepsi to 1 water. We met 3 weeks later, and his energy increased by 50% just from that change. So it's a reduction in the amount of regular or diet soda that he had. So it's interesting that something like that could kind of change our energy as well. Sometimes what we drink is a habit that we formed in the past as well. So it could be like, for example, for holidays, example, summertime, the easy trigger because of going to the mountains or traveling to Saskatchewan a lot is the quick drive-through, and sometimes that is the soda. So it's making a choice about, can we do some water a little bit more? So basically, this strategy here is, what can we drink instead of maybe if we're having that soda all the time, what can we substitute in? So there could be something about the proper hydration that we need in our body, because in our body, in terms of research, there's about 50 to 80% of our body that is water based. So that's really important to get the water component in our body as well. All right. So moving along in terms of our strategies, I'm sticking a little bit with the nutrition side a little bit. Carbs gets a bad rap, but we need carbs to fuel our body. The carbs that get the bad rep are the refined ones, like the white bread, the pasta, the cereal, the processed stuff, because it's lacking in nutrients and they may leave us hungry a short time later. The carbs that we want to be looking towards are kind of complex carbs like fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, things that contain the fiber and the nutrients that help us feel full for a longer period of time. So as my little kind of reminder here is, if we could find it in nature, it's pretty safe. It's a good choice. So hopefully that kind of makes sense as well. All right, so probably 1 or 2 more points on the food stuff. We need fats. We just do in our body to have our body function better in terms of optimally, because the body uses fats for energy, healthy hair, skin, nails, vitamin absorption, and normal daily bodily functions as well. So good fats also promote health benefits for protection against heart diseases, some cancers, even depression. There's also reduced blood pressure and lower cholesterol with some of the good fats, like in the avocado, the olive oil, the fish, and some nuts and some seeds as well. So the challenge here is, what can you be using for your healthy fats as well? Oh yeah, coconut oil. There's also a healthy fat there, which is used for potentially cooking as well. And if you're having smoothies, it's great for that as well. All right, so a little fat in our meals somewhere, like even if we're making a salad at home, it could be that olive oil, because that helps to kind of make us feel fuller just a little bit longer as well. All right, thanks for some of the comments about things are going well. Thank you for that. All right, so I know there's been a little bit more movement in the social world about plant-based things, yet in the plant-based things and food world, I'll say, we still need to focus on some protein sources. So protein source is more for improving energy and staying feeling fuller for a longer period of time. And our bodies actually need the protein for cell renewal, stabilizing blood sugar, and providing energy that we need. So some good sources of protein, for example, are fish, there's some dairy, eggs, some meats, and in terms of the plant sources, it's seeds, nuts, and beans. So once again, it's more looking at what's the quality of the protein source that you're coming from. And I'll just say this, and there might be some questions about it as well. We don't need to choose organic only, because sometimes organic only is not within our budget. So it's be mindful about where your budget is as well when you're looking for protein sources. I just want to throw this on as a little kind of break. So there's a great saying, let food be thy medicine, medicine be thy food. There's so many good value benefits of having good food to help us out in terms of overall energy, just overall health for both mind and body as well. So it's more about being mindful when we're shopping, or especially the grocery shopping. A lot of the stuff I mentioned about food, in terms of making grocery shopping easy, is more the perimeter of the grocery store, because that's where we'll find our produce, our fruits, our meat products, and our dairy, cheeses, and eggs, and then we're kind of out of the store. Granted, if you're shopping for a bigger family and you're going to Costco, depending on the Costco you go to, it might take you a little bit longer. So it just depends on the design and the layout there. All right, a key part of helping out with the neuropathic pain, and especially because it's sensory, we could still train all the motor stuff. By motor stuff, I mean there's a lot of small muscle groups in the feet. There's those intrinsic muscle groups. There's some where the receptors hang out in the feet and around the muscle tissue as well. So that we could kind of train for that, because an important part of looking at training the muscle groups in terms of the connection between mind and body when we're doing some training, in terms of getting moving or some very specific key exercises, because I know the CNA's listed some key exercises for hands and feet that you could do as well. There's a handout there. So that's focusing on those small intrinsic muscle groups for sure, really important. but that's part of the connection of the bigger muscle groups as well, because from the feet, it goes up into the lower leg, goes up into the hip, goes up into the core muscle group and around the pelvic area, and also into the low back area, and it extends up to the spine. Part of the training here about getting moving to exercise is getting more confidence in movement as a whole, so that there's less I'm not gonna say concern. Again, struggling for a word here. Sorry about that, everybody. So it's more the more confident that you get, there's less chance of falls as well. So that's where I was getting to, because there's a big association about how confident are you in movement, and if there's less confidence, there's a greater risk of falls. That's what some of the research shows. Okay, that's a long-winded way to get there. So by doing the specific exercises, it could be something like I'm showing on this screen. It's gentle exercises. It could be a yoga, seated or standing. It could be a Tai Chi, seated or standing, if you want that support. It could be a Pilates, seated or standing as well. If you like the water, you have all the support of the water around your body, and that could be kind of a form of aqua classes. That said, in our everyday function, there's 7 key things that we do all the time. Number 1, we always reach. We always pull. Third one, we always do some bending. Fourth one, we always do some twisting. Next, we always do squats. And yeah, you might say, hey, Francois, I didn't do any squats today, but I'll challenge you. You probably sat down and stood up, so you just did 1 rep of a squat. So we just got to clean that up, just how to make it a little bit more efficient. And then there's also, we always do lunges. So you might be picturing a lunge in the gym, kind of somebody walking with weights, but doing a walk is actually a baby lunge, because you're offsetting your weight and your balance onto 1 foot for a brief moment in time while you're doing a walk. And then when we're walking, if we're going up or down stairs, or we're avoiding curbs, or avoiding puddles, or stepping around dogs, we're changing our gait. So those are the 7 primal human movement patterns that we do every day in some way, shape, or form. So that's where the exercise component gets in to help out in terms of that confidence when we stand, when we walk, when we go up and down stairs, when we need to kind of shift, either avoid somebody or avoid, in my case, 3 dogs. So it's one of those things that the more that we can condition the body, the better and more confidence that we get in our stand, and also our walking, and decrease the percentage of falls. Hopefully that kind of makes all sense right there. So the usual recommendations for us in the rehab world is to say, please do 30 minutes of exercise most days of the week. I know a lot of my clients are not doing 30 minutes, but we are doing 6 minutes. My challenges for them is 6 minutes, let's say brunch time, 6 minutes in the afternoon, 6 minutes in the evening. So at the end of the day, you have 18 minutes, well over halfway there. And then we just progressively build. Can we get another minute or 2 a week, or third week after? And then that's how we slowly kind of increment the added time, instead of jumping to another 5 or 7 minutes right off the bat, because that might be too much for the body as well. So a lot of things can be modified and individually tailored as well. So that's where the exercise, and if you're looking at the exercise world, you might be going, wow, 30 minutes, way too much. 6-minute chunks are totally okay. And so we need to start somewhere. And things to help out with motivation as well in the exercise world, there are devices now like Fitbits, pedometers still, have family members do a friendly challenge. If you work out at home, nowadays with online material, it's easy. For example, I know some people might say, well, how come you're suggesting Google? But Google is a search engine. If you type in a 6-minute seated Tai Chi, you probably get 6-minute chunks. I would recommend watch the video first. It's only 6 minutes. Then it's like, oh, I could follow that to the best of my ability, and that's totally okay. We want to start somewhere for sure. And definitely, if you've taken a long break from doing physical activity, movement, or exercise in any form, make sure you have realistic expectations. It's not, I'm going to go out and do my first 10K next weekend. So that might be a little bit too much. Or even 5K. It's like, hey, next weekend, can I walk around halfway around my block? And just give yourself a thumbs up, do a reward, and go from there. And yeah, kind of like my little disclaimer, always check with your healthcare professional when you're starting up a new exercise program, or to some degree, that's what I do as well. Let me know how I can help you out for sure. And the CNA has some really great postings about some of those hand and foot exercises and some of the other material on the website. So well done that way for sure. That's my blurb about exercise, and hopefully everybody's good with that. Almost my last part is to help out with your own energy and also pacing to some degree, because if we have some neuropathic pain that flares up, we might not want to do a lot of stuff and be out and about all the time. When we could prepare more meals at home, it's awesome because it saves us money and we know what we're having in our food. So just in case, yeah, you might have peripheral neuropathy, but hey, my gut is having some issues as well. So, for example, here at home, I'll pick on my wife because she's not here to defend herself. So, we at home, we do a lot more stuff about dairy-free and gluten-free as much as we can. And sometimes that is a challenge for what we shop and recipes specifically. So that's why, in terms of the supportive nutrition world, I work with a lot of registered holistic nutritionists and registered dietitians to do some foods where they're gluten friendly. For example, granted, my wife is fortunate because I do a lot of cooking at home. So my stuff is, just to share with you, is paleo based. It's some keto, some whole foods. It's not one or the other. And yeah, there's some plant based stuff as well. I don't follow a specific program. What are my recipes that are gluten free and dairy free? That's my two rules of thumb when I do cooking at home. So, but there are some options online as well. All right. So one of those things to prepare meals at home, if you like multitasking, is look for the crock pot. My last one about yeah,
We have a question. Why dairy free?
dairy free because both my wife and I are, it's a lactose. So if we have anything with lactose in our foods, our gut lets us know. So that's kind of why we're doing dairy free. So for example, we switch our milks to more nut milks. So like an almond milk or a cashew. Like I notice that when for example, if I have somebody gets me a coffee that has a milk in it, I get the stomach rumblings going on. So that's why I'm really reducing my dairy. So to Peggy, yes, dairy is still good. It has some really good nutrient value for sure. It's just all right. So the last one that we want to do, look at keeping track of what we're trying to implement with healthy habits, because I've shared this is our 10th one, so keeping track is an easy one. But in terms of the other 9, it's start with 1 or 2. It's not to start with all of them in one weekend because that could be overwhelming. It might be, hey, movement's important because I have some receptors in my feet that gauge the ground that I walk on, the texture of either my footwear, texture of what I'm walking on, gravel, cement, wood floor at home as an example. And that's messaging to my mind as well. So if we want to increase our walking tolerance, instead, like I said, maybe not the 10K this weekend. That might be, hey, let's do that next year. But we wanted to ready our body to do that. It might be, wow, with the texture stuff, I know some stuff with socks or whatever else. Maybe I'm just gonna practice at home going barefoot because that might change the sensory input into the feet, and then kind of go from there. Some of the other things as well, if we want to look at, I never tried Tai Chi, so it might be for the rest. Okay, we have about a week left in September, so for the rest of September, it might be, hey, I'm going to look at one seated Tai Chi class online, and I'll join in as well 2 days later or the next, because at least you watched it first and then go from there. And it's keeping track because, hey, I tried that 6-minute seated Tai Chi program. My pain, might be, let's see, 4 out of 10. My pain went up to 6, but then it came back down an hour and a half later. So that might be a good thing as well. So it's to keep track of all your trends and also your wins as well, or your successes that you're doing in your day for sure. A lot of the material that I covered is all about healthy habits that could help your overall health so that when we're looking at in terms of a neuropathic perspective, can we help to calm the body down, give some fuel, give some rest when we need to, give it some appropriate activity so that down the road we could do more things with family and friends without having a spike in the flow. So we have a more sustained, longer quality of the day. And that's where all these little pieces, kind of like pieces of the puzzle, kind of fit in all together. That said, like I mentioned before, probably don't go all in right away in the weekend and hope for a change in the weekend because it does take a little bit of time. And it also, because I don't know each of you individually, it's how long have you been having the condition as well? So if we're having something, but it's new, let's say a year or two, then um, the body is doing some changes, but now we can influence it maybe a little bit more. If there's been a pattern going on for maybe 10 years, so for example, with some of my neuroma in my feet, and because that changes my gait, that changes my whole aspect of how my brain's processing my foot placement. And that's been going on for 3 years. So there's changes, but there's stuff I do myself, in terms of my own manual therapy, my own stretches and around my feet, kind of what the CNA has some of those exercises for my feet as well, just to get those mind muscle groups to be doing some work as well. So, and it's more making sure that I have that habit in place as well. So I'm checking into those specific exercises at least once a week, aside from the other stuff. So one of my other kind of ending thoughts, I kind of like this quote is looking at what you do for your future self. And your future self could be your future self next week. It could be next month. It could be 6 months down the road. It could be next year, depending how you want to structure that in your mind's eye, per se, as well. So how will you be, my challenge is, how will you be moving forward in terms of looking at your future self? And what type of little habits will you add on or kind of refine that you might be already doing as well? All right. So, yeah, so I know Linda gave a little bit of blurb about some of my stuff that I do. I just threw that back on.
I just wanted to thank you so much, François, for coming
Thank
out
you.
and tolerating our treatments. I don't know if you had any on your end, but it's been
It's
a nightmare here.
a little bit of the feedback, but he's going to keep on speaking. So yeah, no, thank you for the invitation as well. And it's for what you do at CNA, it's providing resources for what can be done, and that's super important.